Hi everyone, my name is Siddharth Ravikumar. I'm the product manager for Solido IP Validation Suite, which has two solutions, Solido Crosscheck for in-view and cross-view IP validation, and Solido IP Delta, which is a scalable version-to-version IP validation solution. I'm really excited today to talk about the Siemens EDA collaboration with Perforce. And specifically, I want to talk about the IP validation, how IP validation suite is set to transform IP lifecycle management, working closely with Perforce. So across Siemens EDA, we have a lot of different solutions, and we help our customers in the design, verification, sign-off space for the most complex semiconductors. And all these point solutions help our customers with individual solutions. But when we look at the semiconductor industry, there is one particular problem that is not answered. So the point solutions work really well, but the handoff does not. For example, your design data, your IP validation results, your verification results, your sign-off reports, they are either hidden in folders, they are probably like left in siloed teams, or they're lost in a thread of email. So in order to help with that, that is the vision with Siemens EDA's collaboration with IP lifecycle management. So where does IP validation suite fit in here? So we asked this question for any design engineer or design manager, what is what is for in terms of reuse, what is really important for them to look at? And the answer was clear. It was IP validation. And with this synergy, so we have two solutions, and Perforce has Perforce IPLM and P4. What we are adding now is we are adding a layer of IP validation to IP lifecycle management. So what if you actually, so what is the challenge here? If you're a IP provider or an integrator, you want to ask these questions. What is the IP's quality? Has it been verified? Has the revision been taken care of? And with IP validation suite, we would be able to do that. So instead of me actually talking more about this, it really makes sense for me to invite somebody who's an expert in IP lifecycle management. So I call upon Vishal Mundra, the VP of Solutions at Perforce, to answer a few questions. Hey Vishal, welcome, and let's dive right in. So I provided a context on how it really helps Siemens EDA, how it helps customers in terms of having a unified platform, right? So what does this mean for Perforce though?
So from our perspective, IPLM is designed to help customers build a workflow that goes beyond just data management, right? So you have files that you're working on, you're adjusting, you're editing and deleting and creating designs. But then when you put all of this together, there's a undifferentiated mass of files in data management. So what IPLM does is that it allows you to break down these large designs into individual blocks or IPs, and you can build relationships between those blocks. You can put together all kinds of hierarchical dependencies and so on. Okay. But that's just one part of it. The other more interesting part of it is once you have those individual IP blocks, you can then start attaching metadata on top of it. That metadata can be used to describe what's happening with the design. And Solido's Crosscheck, etc., is a great example of very relevant and very valid metadata that is very specific to what the engineers want to see, right? So for us, being able to do this kind of an integration, being able to provide that seamless experience for customers to run Crosscheck, to run IP Delta, and have that available at the IP version level inside IPLM is a huge step forward.
Okay. Yeah, I think you pretty much answered. Like for anybody that has no idea about IPLM and Perforce, I think you did speak about it, but in a simple easy to understand manner, how would you define
Sure.
that? Yeah.
So IPLM is a layer that sits between on top of data management, which is your Perforce, Git, Subversion, where you actually manage individual files. We are a layer that sits on top of that and allows you to manage individual design blocks like their IPs, right? So that's why it's IP lifecycle management. You can take any design block. It doesn't have to be a traditional IP that you purchased from an external vendor. Any design block can be managed as if it's an IP, and that allows you to trace where the IP came from, where it was reused, what's the metadata associated with it. And we work across multiple data management systems, and we provide the glue that allows you to build hierarchical dependencies between all of these blocks, put metadata on it, permissions, and all of that. So it gives you a workflow management piece that sits on top of data management.
Okay. One thing that you spoke of, I mean, one thing that we are working on closely is IP validation, right? Of course, you did touch upon what the advantage of that is. So, why don't you let us know, like, what that IP validation layer adds to IPLM, and can you talk about what we are working on
Sure, absolutely,
currently?
yeah. So the way we are collaborating right now, so you have a IP that is residing inside IPLM. It's what we call IP versions. So each IP goes through its life cycle. You have an early version of the IP, and then you add more features, you fix some bugs, you work with that IP over a period of time. So you get various versions of these IPs, right? So what we're working today is every time you get a new version of an IP, which kind of satisfies some intermediate goal, right? I fixed a bug, or I added this new feature. Now I want to share the design with the rest of my team, but I need to run IP validation on it. I need to be able to do, delta checks between the previous version and this version, for example. Or I want to run IP validation checks to make sure that it has not gotten any worse or is generally progressing, right? Now, those runs in the past have been things that you do, but then as you mentioned in your introduction, that report or the metadata generated by that run is kind of lost.
Right.
It's sitting somewhere on a folder in someone's hard disk, or maybe it's exchanged through emails. You got to go and dig in and figure out what's going on. So what we're working today is to say, at the time that you generate this metadata, we can attach it to the version of the IP. So the metadata that is generated, which is in this particular case, specifically IP verification metadata, is carried along with the IP version. So whoever wants to consume that IP version can see not just the fact that the design exists, but what was the verification performed on it, and what was the delta between various
Exactly. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense to have the IP validation data
Yeah.
attached. So we've made it life cycle aware
Yeah,
IP
you've added it
validation
as part of the life cycle,
right?
and the other thing is it's all automated, so
Yeah.
it's done through our API calls. We have dashboards on our IPLM, UI UX interface, as well as we point back into the HTML reports that are generated by IP, by IP Delta and IP validation. So what happens here is that if you look at an IP inside IPLM, you get the summary information, right?
Right.
This is the number of checks that were run, these are the number of checks that passed and failed, and so on. So it gives you an idea of what happened with that particular version of the IP. But if you want to dig in further and say, hey, I want to find out what were the actual failures, then we provide a link directly into the database, the HTML report that is generated by the Solido tools, right?
Right.
So this allows you to do the best of both worlds, where all you're looking for is give me a high-level summary of what happened. I can see it right away. I don't have to go in and ask people or go through a thread of emails or whatever it is.
Exactly.
But then, if you're actually trying to say, I want to do deeper analysis, then we give you a path to that as well.
Yeah. So you don't have any siloed teams anymore,
Exactly.
right? Like you have everybody able to access like what happens,
Yes.
the entire history of the IP through and the validation results as well. So they know exactly what to do. For example, like a standard cell or IO team, let's say it was validated a quarter before.
Yeah.
They want to know like
Exactly.
what who validated it,
Who validated what was the
when-
actual results,
exactly,
and what were the decision-making criteria that were applied to this. So all of that is up-leveled. You don't have to go digging around for information. It is there for you to use.
Exactly. And today, what we're working on, just to add to that, is in phases.
Yeah.
We're working on this, and the first phase is connecting our IP validation results from cross-check and IP Delta straight into the IP lifecycle management layer, and we want to take it to another level where regressions automatically trigger,
Yes.
IP validation.
Yeah. So
right?
the
And
CI/CD flow is what we're working
exactly
on.
the continuous.
And that continuous integration flow is also one where you can now automate all of this. So you have the results available to you, not by sitting on someone's checklist, which may or may not get done or may not get done on time. Automating it through a CI/CD flow is the next step.
Right. Yeah. One quick question I had in terms of I know design engineers, verification engineers, and CAD teams are going to really benefit from this integration. Now, what do engineering managers or key decision makers get out of this?
So if you look today, the job of an engineering manager, a lot of times is to understand what is going on with the team, where we stand, and the complexity of what they have to manage is increasing all the time, right? Not only the complexity of the design itself, but just the fact that you have contributions from various team members, you're reusing a lot of, or attempting to reuse a lot of previous designs that have been verified in different parts of the world by different teams, right? So this information is out there today, but it's scattered, as we talked about so many times. It's, you have to go and chase down that information. It really hinders decision-making process, status gathering, and figuring out where you are. So from a management perspective, having the ability to quickly and easily find out any, metadata details about the components that you're going to use in your particular product or your chip or your project is invaluable, right? And so that makes their life simpler. Decision making is much quicker, and also you can do comparisons and figure out if things are trending in the right direction or not, right? So otherwise, again, obviously you can still do all this. People do tape out chips all the time, but this lowers the barrier for managers, for executives to understand where they are, so that makes their decision making process much more smooth.
Right, and it's easily shareable reports and stuff, right? So one last question, Vishal. So there might be customers that don't want to change their current flows, the existing way of doing things. What is the one thing that you would say when it comes to IP lifecycle management, Perforce IP lifecycle management?
We do have plenty of customers who want to continue what they're doing. They've built that workflow with decades, sometimes. So to them, but oftentimes they see the value of IPLM, they see the value of IP lifecycle management, but from where they are to get to where they want to be is a big journey, right? So we have many ways in which we can enable these customers. We have ways in which you can do some plug and play work, or you can only take a part of your design and make that IP friendly if you want to. It's not ideal, but it gets you going on the journey. So we have ways in which we can approach teams without completely blowing everything up or disrupting everything, to have a smooth transition into as much of IP management as you want to bring in, right? Over time.
Got it.
The other thing we do support is, even though we support our Perforce data management out of the box, it's our best integration, IPLM plus Perforce. We do support a lot of the other data management tools. So you could be using Git, Subversion, ClearCase, Design Sync, etc. We can bring it all together in the same platform. So that allows you to say that, yes, even if you do want to use Perforce, or you're using something else today, maybe your hope is that you can use Perforce in the future, or that's where you want to go, or maybe you don't want to change anything, right? Maybe you want to keep it the way it is. We can accommodate all of these scenarios inside IPLM.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your time, Vishal. And what you saw here is not just a solution, but it's a platform that is going to kind of transform the semiconductor industry itself. What we are working towards is connecting Siemens best-in-class design and verification validation sign-off tools to the expertise in IP lifecycle management and version control that Perforce has to offer, to move and transform teams from siloed workflows to more trusted, traceable workflows. And thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us.